So John Bolton has been indicted, and you know what? I don't feel outraged. I don't feel particularly sympathetic either. I find it ironically satisfying. This just feels like the system eating one of its own, and it also says a lot how broken things have become. Let's start who John Bolton is. This man, who's made an entire career of ignoring international law, undermining global institutions, and treating human rights as speed bumps on the road to US dominance. He was a key architect of the Iraq War. He openly advocated for preemptive strikes against Iran and North Korea and saw the United Nations as a joke, calling international treaties a threat to American sovereignty, and believed the United States should be able to act unilaterally by itself whenever it feels like it. Because honestly, we could. He helped build the very system of power with no accountability. A system where morality is an option. Force is the first tool, not a last resort. And now, he's getting caught up in an indictment for allegedly mishandling classified information. The kind of paperwork crime he might have once dismissed as irrelevant compared to the big picture. And now I'm supposed to care. I'm supposed to rally behind this war criminal. Just because maybe the prosecution is politically motivated? I get it. Political persecutions are dangerous. The weaponization of the legal system is real. We've seen it happen before. And yes, it absolutely cuts both ways. But let's not lose the plot. This is John Bolton. This guy thought it was fine for the US to assassinate foreign leaders if it serves our national interests. The guy who thought regime change was a valid strategy, regardless of the human cost. The guy who treated the ICC like an insult and said if it ever tried to investigate Americans, we'd arrest the judges. Now he's being held accountable for what? Mishandling classified documents. Sure, it's not exactly the justice people have been calling for since the Iraq War, but it's something. It's ironic. It's petty. It's coming from the same system he once wanted to use to punish dissenters and leakers. And now he's the one being put under a microscope. Here's what makes it dark. This might not be justice, but it might be a kind of political karma. Not the cosmic justice, but the Washington, D.C. kind. Because Bolton didn't just fall from favor, he publicly turned on Trump and wrote a book detailing all things the White House wanted to keep buried. He became a thorn to Donald Trump and some people in the establishment, and that makes him vulnerable. Not for what he did 2 decades ago, but who he pissed off recently. That's why this whole thing feels like watching someone get trapped in something they helped design. A man who never cared about blowback is finally experiencing it. Not in the foreign regime sense, but in the US justice system. But there's the part that's not funny. We've now reached the point where indictments are seen through a partisan lens, not a legal one. Trump indictments, political witch hunts, Hunter's gun charges, political cover. John Bolton's indictment, well, that depends. Is he on your team or is he not? We've lost all ability to apply justice consistently, and that's what actually scares me. Because even if you think Bolton deserves this, and I wouldn't argue with you, it still points to a deeper problem. Justice has become situational, morality has become transactional, and the law in many ways has become a weapon of convenience, not a principled tool. Remember when liberals called John Bolton a war criminal for years, and suddenly they embrace him for criticizing Donald Trump? Remember when conservatives praised him as a national security hawk until he dared tell the truth about Donald Trump's White House, and now they call him a liar? That's not a game now. It's a useful narrative. Your sins are forgotten. However, if you're inconvenient, they're suddenly remembered. Bolton's indictment isn't some moral awakening. It's not justice finally being served. It's the machinery chewing up the one who architected it. Not for the wars, not for the lies, but for breaking the rules at the wrong time in front of the wrong people. It's ironic. It's kind of funny. But it's also sad because this is what justice looks like in a crumbling republic. We're in trouble. This is a turning point. It's a symptom. We're not restoring the rule of law, we're watching it be applied selectively. And when the legal system becomes a political battleground, even when it happens to someone who deserves it, nobody wins. Because once justice stops being neutral, it stops being justice at all. Congratulations, John Bolton. You built a world where principles don't matter. And now he's learning what it feels like to have the power turned back on him. Funny, yes, but also a warning.